Sktwinztv here with another little video, and we're going to talk about some boxing. Today we're going to talk about Amir Khan, and I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about his life and his career from when he was 17 years old and he was in the Olympics, leading up to winning a world title, losing, building himself back up again, fighting for other world titles, fighting top contenders, personal life, leading all the way up to now. Because in my opinion, he's a fighter who's overlooked and he's not given the correct amount of respect he should be. And that respect is given to other fighters who are promoted by certain people, and it's just not a fair way of doing things, because it's just not. It's just not. Now, where should we start? Let's start from when he was 17 years old, and let's talk about how he was the sole representative for Great Britain in the Olympics in 2004, which was in Athens, Greece. No one else made it that year into the squad, and there was only one guy representing Great Britain, which was Amir Khan, and he was only 17 years old. Now imagine being 17 years old and having the weight of the country on your shoulders, and you're competing in the highest level of athletics that's possible, which is the Olympics, obviously. I mean, even if you live under a rock, even if you're homeless and whatever, you've heard of the Olympics, you understand the prestige of the Olympics. And something that's not really talked about is the fact that Khan done so well in those games in Athens, where he ended up winning a silver medal, where that propelled him, and it propelled British boxing to a point where the 2008 games in Beijing and the 2012 games in London and also the 2016 games that were in Rio de Janeiro, all three different games, Britain had different fighters who won gold medals, and if they didn't win gold medals, they were on podiums in all different weight classes. And this was a result of Khan doing so well in 2004, where the government, the government and the British Board of Boxing Control, they start to pump a lot more money into the game, and it produced the likes of Billy Joe Saunders, James DeGale, you got George Groves, Anthony Joshua, more recently Joe Joyce in the 2016 games, Anthony Fowler, many guys. There's too many guys to actually name, to be honest. And that it didn't entirely happen because of Khan. Obviously Britain's level of boxing is huge, but I mean, anyone who knows about this game and has been watching this game for a long time understands that Britain was at a slope for a long time there, and America led the way, other countries led the way in terms of world champions and what have you. Britain never had them many at all, excuse me. Britain never had many champions at all, and Khan was the flag bearer for Britain for a long time. And because of his success in the 2004 games, it's something that's slightly overlooked, because the government saw how well he done and how much potential Britain has in boxing, where they started to pump even more money into it. Hence, all those names I just mentioned all came out of the national teams setup, which they have in Sheffield, which is the school of sport for boxing, where tremendous training goes on there. They really build the foundation for these fighters there, and they really give them that fundamental boxing style that they need, and really help them and support them in honing their skills before they can go professional. So they do a fantastic job in Sheffield. They really do. I mean, the class, the coaches they have, people like Rob McCracken, who's been involved in boxing for donkeys. I mean, when I was in nappies, that boy was, involved in the game. So Britain's done really well, and it's not all because of Khan, but Khan was definitely a reason for that boom after 2004, if you know what I mean. So that's another reason why I feel that he's not respected and underlooked slightly. I also feel that for all those years after he won the silver medal in the Olympics, he was the flag bearer, the single flag bearer for Britain for so long. People like Kell Brook were unknown. I don't know what he was doing at that time. He definitely wasn't a high-level contender anyway. It must have, if he was competing, he was fighting bums. Because you look at most of his record, he's fought nobodies apart from beating Sean Porter, getting beaten off Errol Spence, and getting knocked out by Golovkin. So there's 3 big names on his record, and he's beaten one of them. Let's talk about Khan's record, for example. Now, he won his world title, beating Andrei Kotelnik, who at the time was a feared contender, and he's beaten the likes of Zab Judah, who's a world champion, took his IBF title off of him. He's also beaten the likes of Marcos Maidana, who's given Floyd Mayweather a lot of hassle, a lot of trouble. He beat Adrian Broner when Adrian Broner was undefeated, and he was running amok in boxing. Who else has Khan fought and beaten? Julio Diaz. He beat Barrera later on in his career, but it was still a good fight for Khan. He completely schooled Devin Alexander with precise footwork, swift combinations. Never let Devin Alexander even get in the fight. I mean, he's beaten all kinds of guys. Luis Collazo, decent level 140 fighter. He has beaten the likes of Paulie Malignaggi when Malignaggi was still a force back in 2010, 2011. So he's fought, he's got a lot of big names on his resume. Big names. And for some reason, the fact that he's been knocked out a couple of times, and let's just put out there, Canelo Alvarez knocked him out, Danny Garcia knocked him out, 2 power punchers who could knock many people out, and Bridas Prescott as well. Prescott is known for his knockout power as well. Not a high-level world-class operator maybe, but at the time it was a good fight for Khan. People like to say he's got a glass jaw, but I completely disagree, because if you look at the shots that have finished Khan, a lot of the time he's got back up and been dropped 2 or 3 times, and actually the fight's been finished on his feet. The ref stopped it when he's back on his feet. But when you look at the punches closely, especially the Canelo one and the Danny Garcia shot, those shots will knock anybody out. I mean, who are you trying to kid? They'll knock anybody out. Anybody that knows anything about contact, punches, landing on the jaw, on the temple, it doesn't take a lot of pressure to knock a human being out. I mean, so the fact that people say he particularly has a glass jaw, I think that's ludicrous. I think it's inaccurate, and I think it's a little bit unfair, to be honest. So that's another thing. People say he's got a glass jaw, which I think he doesn't. I think Khan has tremendous speed, tremendous reflexes. I think his combination punching is fantastic. I believe the fact that he is training under Joe Goosen now as well, he's really going to hone his skills in terms of in the pocket, with his hooks, his body work. Something we saw earlier on in his career when he fought Marcos Maidana. He dropped Maidana in the first round, putting him down on the deck with a body shot. Now he's working with someone like Joe Goosen, who's really going to bring that out. He's going to bring more of that style out, and also help him with his mental game. So I think he's making the right kind of moves now for the last tail end of his career. So I just think the British public need to get behind a guy like Khan. They really do. And people like to say he's scared to fight Kell Brook, even though he's just signed with Matchroom and he's signed with the exact same promoter in Eddie Hearn. There's no way he's scared of Kell Brook. He wants to fight him. They both want to fight each other. The fight's going to happen. But fights need to happen at the right time. The fans don't understand that boxing is a business. When 2 guys are coming off losses, we're not going to put them in, are we? You're not going to sell as many tickets. You're not going to sell as many pay-per-views. Sorry, you might sell tickets. It'll probably still be a sellout in Britain, even if they both lost like 2-3 times each. But pay-per-views and internationally, you want the fight to be seen. You want the fight to be cared about. And if fighters are coming off bad losses and bad fights, it's not a good time to make the bout. Now they both won a fight each. Maybe take another one, and in August or maybe September, and probably, hopefully, we could get a big showdown in the Hole 2 in December this year. Now that would be fantastic, or early 2019. But I do feel that Khan has many other options, and I feel Kell Brook doesn't have other options. I feel Kell Brook, his only big payday is Khan, really, that he can win. I think all the other fights at 147 or even at 154, I mean, Kell Brook doesn't really have many options that he would like to go for. And I know for a fact that Dominic Ingle is not going to let him fight guys like Charlo or guys like... I mean, they're not going to take the rematch of Errol Spence. Kell Brook keeps saying it. He wants to fight Errol Spence at 150 or 154. It's a bad idea, son. Bad idea. Who else could he fight at 154? He just... I mean... I don't think there's anybody he fancies, I swear. And even at 147, I do not think he fancies it with anybody. Any of the main guys, Keith Thurman, he doesn't fancy it. He does not fancy it with these guys, honestly. I just think that Kell Brook's too much of a careful fighter, and the Ingle camp, they're not stupid. They're not going to put him into a situation where they feel he can't come out of. The Errol Spence fight, the only reason that happened is because Kell Brook was backed up against a wall, and at the time he had the IBF title. Errol Spence was a mandatory, so he had to fight him. Like, they literally had no choice, and they didn't even want to take that fight at 147. They were making a song and dance about how Kell Brook should only fight at 154 and campaign there because he kills himself to make 147 after the Triple G fight, which is absolute bollocks, because you've been fighting at 147 for a long time, and yes, he struggles to make the weight, but at that time you had a belt and you're trying to get out of fighting Errol Spence, because obviously what happened is what they were scared of happening, which is him getting knocked out. Now, I have a lot of respect for Kell Brook, but I just feel he is not as big of a draw as Khan. Khan's definitely the A side, and if they fight, he will be the A side. But I do see the fight happening very soon. Now, Khan, on the other hand, has got a lot of options. I mean, he could fight Adrian Broner, he could fight Jesse Vargas, he could fight rematch Danny Garcia, he could fight Thurman, he could fight Sean Porter, he could fight... I mean, there's just so many guys he could take on, you know what I mean? Khan has many options. And because of his action-packed style, because of the way he fights, because of the way he puts it on the line, puts his heart on his sleeve, and really entertains the fans, Khan can sell out arenas all over the world. It doesn't matter where it is. It could be in Timbuktu, and Amir Khan will sell out the arena just because of his style. Now, the fact that he's dangerous and he has that X factor where he can get knocked out, it makes people want to watch him even more, whether you want to see him get knocked out or you want to see him win, which makes him a top draw, and still a massive draw for Britain in world boxing. Because, I mean, you need to look at things in perspective. Now, Floyd Mayweather didn't want to fight Khan for some reason, and Khan tried so hard to get that fight. Now, many people would say Floyd could beat him very easily. I agree. But I think Khan's speed and reflexes and his style of in and out boxing and combination punching, I truly think that style could give Floyd problems. Because boxing is all about style. Styles make fights. End of the day. Now, I'm not calm down. I'm not saying he would definitely beat Floyd. I truly think he would give Floyd problems if they fought. I genuinely feel that. I genuinely feel that. Look at the Maidana fight. When Floyd fought Maidana gave him so many problems, where the fans demanded a rematch. Now, also when Maidana fought Broner, did you see that fight? Did you see to the extent where Maidana closed Broner down and gave him no room to even move and create space? He completely bullied him up and down the ring for 12 rounds, dropped him 2 times, I believe, once or twice, I believe. Now compare that to the way Khan fought Marcos Maidana. Dropped him in round 1, done really well, won most of the rounds leading up to the late rounds, where the 9th and 10th were really shaky for Khan, and he was wobbling about the ring, and he took some heavy shots, survived, came back, won the later rounds to win the fight on decision. Now, it was a convincing enough win, though, if you see what I'm saying, if you understand from my perspective, that Khan could have gave Mayweather problems if they fought. Do you see what I'm saying? So I just feel he should be given a lot more respect for his boxing IQ, his ability, his speed, his reflexes. I just think Khan brings so much to the table. Yes, he's gotten into a bit of hassle because of his personal life and what have you, but who doesn't as a celebrity? I mean, everybody's watching your life through a microscope. Any move you make is amplified to the maximum. Everybody sees what you're doing. I mean, yes, he shouldn't have made public those tweets about his wife and Anthony Joshua and what have you, and he got caught wanking on a webcam and all that kind of stuff, but hey, he's a human being, end of the day, and I just don't think all the fans should just completely go against him because he's lost a couple of times and he's had some instances outside the ring. But again, he's not done anything that crazy. I mean, he never smashed a bus window like Conor McGregor or other excuse me, other silly things that other fighters get involved with. So I just think he should be getting a little bit more respect. And yeah, we're gonna see a lot more from Khan this year and in 2019, hopefully. Hopefully he wins or challenges at least for a couple of more world titles, gets a couple of the big fights in, big money marquee fights, and I truly believe he wants to do that. He wants to leave his mark in boxing. He's already the third youngest ever champion from Britain, I believe, and I think he wants to leave his name in the history books. It's not about money for him. Clearly, he does not care about money because he's made his millions. He's made so much money off boxing, and it's obvious that he does it for the love of the game. So that's my lowdown on Amir Khan and why I think that people should give him a lot more respect, and British boxing needs to commend a guy like Khan instead of always putting him down. So that's all I have to say about that. This is Sktwinztv, and we'll hit you up with another video really soon talking about boxing. Sktwinztv, and we're out.